What's up, guys? The Methodical Show here today to discuss the potential spin-off series for The 100 in the lead-up to Episode 8 of Season 7, which is set to be a backdoor pilot for this potential spin-off series. This potential spin-off or prequel or whatever you want to call it is not yet confirmed by the CW, but Rothenberg has stated multiple times that he is confident that it will be greenlit. We don't know the title of this prequel series yet. In the early stages of its announcement, people thought it was titled Anaconda, as was reported by multiple different media outlets, but that ended up just being the name of the backdoor pilot episode, which airs this coming Wednesday. For this video though, I don't want to talk about if we are going to see the prequel happen or not. I want to talk about whether or not we think this new series is going to be a success or a complete fail. The best way to gauge whether or not it will be a success or fail is to go with the information we have, and what we know is that the series is set 97 years before the events of the 100, so it will take place 3 years after the bombs that destroyed the Earth. I believe what we will see in episode 8 this Wednesday won't be 3 years after. I think it will be showing what happened as the bombs happened in real time and the direct aftermath of that, and I think the promos that the CW has put out would pretty much point to that really being the case for this coming episode this Wednesday. It does appear that we will also see what happened to Becca and Cadigan in the direct aftermath of the bombs as well. Also, in an interview with Jason Rothenberg, he stated that Callie and Reese, who play sister and brother in this new potential spin-off and in this Wednesday's backdoor pilot, are the children of Cadigan, which I think is an interesting way to sort of tie all these stories together on the 100 from the past and present. I think one of my biggest concerns, and one of most people's biggest concerns with the new prequel, is that we won't be able to get nearly as emotionally invested in these new characters as we are the ones we have right now. But all the new characters they seem to bring into the 100 mesh really well and are usually very like, some examples being Hope, Levitt, Dioza, while some characters they bring in are complete flops like Jordan. I think a big part of the problem with Jordan is people having such high expectations of the character. Then in season 6, he not only just takes most of the season off recovering from a stab wound from Maddie, but just his innocence all the time being so out of place from our characters, and Jordan doing things we would see as completely absurd in comparison to our characters, who have been through hell and back at this point in the series. When it comes to characters, I think if the characters in the prequel are kept unique and aren't carbon copies of characters we currently have now, for example, Callie and Reese being brother and sister, the first thing you can think of is Octavia and Bellamy, who are brother and sister in the main show. I hope that we aren't getting carbon copies and such, because that would feel, if their dynamic is the same as Bellamy and Octavia, it would feel like we've already been watching them for near a decade. Then any sibling fights and rivalries are gonna feel kind of old and played out, as we've seen Bellamy and Octavia do this for years now. This Wednesday, one of the things I'm gonna be keeping very close attention to is the acting of the main cast, because I heard they casted 3 actors to the main roles of the series, like they have the core 3 on the 100, Clark, Bellamy, Octavia. Now that will be very important to see how they perform in those roles, obviously, but what really makes the 100 special, I think anyway, is not just those 3 or just the core 3 that this prequel will also seem to have. It's the supporting characters, or whatever you want to call them, the side characters. They're not extras, they're very, very important to the story, obviously, and I think they make or break this prequel, I really do, and they make or break a story like the 100 as well. Could you even imagine the 100 if we never had met Murphy, Raven, Lexa, Lincoln, Luna, Jasper, Monty? Those characters, in my opinion, made the story what it is. So this prequel might not succeed or fail based on the core 3. We know they should be interesting. Those characters gotta be written well, they just have to be. Another thing I hope we see back in the prequel, which I'm not 100% sure if we will or not, and I might even be alone in wanting this back, I want the violence of the 100 back. You guys remember early seasons of the show being incredibly violent, like when Lexa threw a spear through the Ice Nation's leader's chest, things like that, and like then the decapitated children heads, and all these crazy violent scenes, people getting a sword through their face, Lincoln getting a bullet in his head, and we saw every second of it. Things like this we don't get very often anymore, and I think a lot of people would notice that, but I don't see it called out very often. But I think the CW has made Rothenberg and the 100 play along and be more viewer friendly and whatnot, but I'm hoping that he can push the boundaries for what's allowed more in the prequel, because I love the gore and the violence. I think it's such a key part, and it makes the characters feel like they're in danger, and there's violence around every block, and there's danger, and I think it makes the series feel more real when they're not shying away from that, and that it's meant to be focused on grounder conflict and stuff like that. They have to have the violence back. They have to. Like, can you imagine they do this grounder conflict stuff and we see all these vicious grounder rituals that we got so used to in the earlier seasons, but we just don't really see much blood or anything, and it's PG and it's not really there, and I think that would suck. I really think it would. Two characters a lot of fans fell in love with instantly were Lincoln and Lexa, who were both just grounders, and they were absolutely main cast members, but they weren't the core cast that Bellamy, Octavia, and Clark were. Now, I think that'll be very important for the prequel as well, these other grounders and such being very, very interesting characters, and hopefully we can get emotionally invested in them, because if not, and they're all just kind of red shirts and they're extras and they don't matter, the prequel could really flop just based on that alone, I think. But yeah, I think the 100 prequel or spin-off can absolutely be a success, but the first major step to that is making the backdoor pilot fantastic. If it's really good, it's going to make people want to see this show a lot, and the demand just goes up, and it makes the CW have to go through with making it a reality. But if that episode bombs this Wednesday, then the likelihood of us getting that prequel will take a major dip. How do you guys feel about a potential spin-off of The 100? Leave a comment and tell me, will the prequel be a success or will it fail? Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.